Look up play in early childhood, and thousands of websites will pop up, showing quotes from the foremost educational philosophers to ideas from preschool teachers inspired to share their thoughts. Play is a hot topic, and likewise hotly debated in the world of early childhood education. In recent years, play has lost its place in early childhood education. While trying to raise achievement in schools and develop children ready to compete with other nations in the global economy, education has undergone a major shift. This shift can be seen in priorities and methodology. Research has shown that this is detrimental to children, causing lasting social, emotional, cognitive, and physical effects. Good pedagogy has been ignored in order to achieve the mandated high scores on standardized tests. Classrooms are heavy on literacy instruction, leaving little time for the development of emotional literacy. Children are asked to be doing things that their bodies are not yet ready to do. Requirements are developmentally inappropriate, thus setting children up to fail. With this comes a marked increase in stress and anxiety in our youngest learners, as well as fear or even dislike of school or learning as a whole. Play is essential in the development of a healthy mind and body for a young child. It is the foremost way a child learns about themselves, their peers, and the world around them. Through play, the whole child is nurtured and allowed to develop at their natural pace. From emotional regulation to problem-solving skills, play supports healthy emotional development. The high-scope preschool comparison study followed 68 children who went to two different programs for young children, one which offered ample opportunity for play, and the other was more didactic. Children from both groups saw increases in their IQs initially, but by the time they were 15, the gaps were drastic. Some of the children who attended the instruction-based program began to display troubling emotional problems and eventually were moved into special education programs. These children's emotional growth suffered greatly as a result of being educated without the chance to play. Moving on to cognitive development. While playing, a child develops dramatically in terms of their cognitive abilities. Also important to note here is that play is an intrinsically motivated way to learn. A child genuinely wants to engage in play, and thus the learning is deeper and more meaningful. John Dewey believed that a child learns best when able to experience things for themselves. Constructivist theory is also important to touch on here. Constructivists believe that a child constructs their own meaning of the world around them. This certainly happens when a child is able to engage in unstructured and unplanned play. Jean Piaget, the Swiss psychologist, believed that children really learn best when they are able to follow their own lead and explore what they are curious about. He believed in allowing them to follow their own interests. Interestingly, a child's brain is actually altered by meaningful play. As a child experiences something, their brain creates a pathway between neurons. Unused neurons will simply die off. While at play, a child often hovers in their zone of proximal development. In this optimal learning zone, introduced by Vygotsky, a child is stretched just past what they are able to do on their own, but when aided by a more developed or advanced peer or an adult, they are able to do and learn something new. Finally, a study out of the University of North Carolina shows that an early childhood education full of play better prepares children for future learning. This study found that this type of education prepared children who had higher reading levels, higher IQs, and were more likely to attend college. In terms of physical development, play is crucial. Play is an important indicator of a child's overall health, since it's such an innate part of them. While playing, a child is not only developing fine and gross motor skills, but a child is also able to ensure that their vestibular and proprioceptive systems are functioning to their full ability. These systems are crucial, for they allow a child to balance, coordinate movement, and understand where their body is in space. These things are all very important to a child finding success in a classroom setting. Lastly, play helps to develop the brain so that nerve signals are being created to a child's muscles. This also ensures that fast twitch and slow twitch muscles are developing in the right proportion to one another and at equal rates. Play has disappeared in childhood classrooms as a byproduct of trying to raise achievement in schools. The Alliance for Childhood, in its Crisis for Kindergarten report, states that children are spending 4 to 6 times as much time in instruction than they are playing or during choice time. This means that a typical kindergartner may be spending 30 minutes or less in a full day playing. In Los Angeles, 25% of teachers surveyed said there was no time for play in a typical kindergarten day, whereas the other 75% said there was little time for play, meaning 30 minutes tops. The widespread and commonly held belief that the earlier children learn basic mathematics and literacy skills, the better they will do in school, and consequently in the job market, is leading to extreme pressure on building these skills as quickly and as young as possible. In an effort to master these academic skills rapidly, young children are receiving hours of didactic instruction as well as spending hours taking tests or preparing for them. Common Core standards demand that children learn over 90 skills in the kindergarten year. With these great many demands being placed on our youngest learners, little time is left for free play. Simply put, the pressures put on teachers to achieve has left them with little choice about how to structure their students' day. Tied to this is the fact that play really isn't valued. Although many parents and educators alike agree that play is important for children, they feel that it comes second to schooling. They may feel that a child in this day and age cannot afford to play. They must work tirelessly to keep up. Children can play when they get home. This shows that many educators and parents alike do not have a true understanding of the value of play and the central role it plays in the development of a healthy and balanced child. They've allowed play to take a back seat to didactic instruction because they do not fully comprehend its value and therefore are not willing or even able to fight for its place in the lives of our young children. Sadly, without enough research on a childhood without play, concerns may be brushed aside and focus remains on cultivating developmentally inappropriate academic skills in a highly structured and regimented classroom with hopes of higher achievement. Due to this lack of funding, lack of materials for open-ended play, and the lack of administrative support, play has really disappeared in schools. The negative effects of play deprivation are many. Just a few of them are listed here. There has been an increase in negative long-term effects in young children, including anger, stress, and an increase in behavior problems, just to name a few. More clinical research is desperately needed in order to solidify these links, however. Obstacles. Before possible solutions to restore play in our schools can be posed, obstacles in the way of play must be stated. Many of these obstacles come as a result of 3 university research studies conducted by the Alliance for Childhood. These were completed in 2008 and looked at public school kindergartens in LA, New York City, and Westchester County, New York. The purpose of these studies was to take a close look at what kindergartners were doing in school, what their adult interactions looked like, and what resources and materials were available to them. Time. This is the most crucial element for play to be worthwhile and fulfilling to a child. Children must have time to play. They need to get organized, hone their ideas, define roles if playing with others, and finally be able to settle into play. Time allows for these things and allows for play to be enjoyable and actually valuable to them. Sadly, there's not enough time for play in the typical school day of a young child. The next obstacle is that it's not part of the curriculum. It's seen as an extra add-on bonus if everything else gets accomplished that day. Many teachers of young children have a set curriculum that they must follow, and play is rarely a part of this. The third hindrance to play being a part of the classroom is that it's frankly not deemed important enough by administration. It's not respected or viewed as it should be. Therefore, it's disposable. The lack of materials is another serious obstacle in the way of play. In many classrooms, not all children are able to be playing at the same time. When 30 minutes or less is all the time allotted for play, every moment truly counts, and without the necessary materials for play, children can't even make the most out of that short opportunity. The next two obstacles are closely related and really center on the lack of the true understanding of play. The crisis in the kindergarten research shows that play is not truly understood by teachers and administrators alike. And without this understanding, they cannot explain the connection or argue for play in their classrooms. They are limited by their lack of understanding. Lastly, because play may not be really understood or clearly defined, many think they are allowing children to play. However, what they're considering play may in fact be teacher-directed or organized games. So the question remains, how do we get free child-initiated play back into early childhood classrooms? Change is desperately needed in order to bring children a balanced and holistic education. On a personal level, I can value play and make it a part of my daily practice by continuing to educate myself on play-based learning, including learning about how I can foster it and offer materials and ideas to help my students take it deeper. I can learn more about scaffolding play, learn more about questioning, and even when just to take a step back and remove myself from the play. I have thought about pursuing a doctorate as well. Another choice I can make to further play in the lives of children is to continue to teach at a school that values play. I can continue to soak up the knowledge of those around me and experiment with new ideas in play. I can continue to develop myself as an educator and hone my educational philosophy. Eventually, I can take this knowledge to another school and share about the many benefits of play for young children, and perhaps help them develop their mission as one focused on play-based education. I can take my growing knowledge and true passion for play out into the community as well. I can share what I have learned and what I've seen with the community at large. In the meantime, I can help to educate the families that I work with about what we do every day and why play-based learning really embraces their child's natural curiosity, helps develop critical thinking skills, promotes empathy, and allows children to grow in a healthy way. I can really continue to embrace play in my classroom every day. On a professional level, teacher education and preparation needs to be excellent, and it must be valued. The teacher should leave their preparatory program with a strong knowledge of child development. This will serve them well as the foundation for their work, both in what they will have as a way to gauge how a child typically develops, and they will also know what is appropriate for children at various ages and stages. Knowledge of various educational styles, theories and theorists is also important. This will inform a teacher and will help to strengthen and define their own personal educational philosophy, depending on what resonates with them. Likewise, professional development for educators must continue to grow and be strengthened. With greater and more meaningful professional development, educators will continue to progress, bring new ideas, and develop their teaching practice. More professional development is needed that focuses specifically on play as well. Teachers need to be better informed about play and how to support it, especially if they are going to defend it. Lastly, professional development that focuses on improving observational skills would allow teachers better insight as to what their students might need in order for play to continue to develop and go deeper. Finally, systemic change must come in order to restore play in our early childhood classrooms. All constituencies need more education around development and developmentally appropriate curriculum. People making decisions about educating children need to know about children. What is being asked of children needs to be re-examined and re-evaluated. According to the Alliance for Childhood Policy Brief 2, reading does not need to happen in kindergarten in order for a child to find success with literacy. This is really important. Children need to be allowed to read at their own rate and when their body is ready for it. We cannot continue to push children to read before they are ready and then shame them when they are not able to. Next, standards need to be reevaluated. They are not developmentally appropriate. One size does not fit all in young children. Assessment needs to be done through many different forms and from multiple observations. Testing is simply not appropriate and is also very inaccurate at this age. We also need to define play more concretely. What schools may be calling play is often superficial and not child-directed at all, and really not play at all. More research also needs to be done around early childhood education. This is crucial. We need to look at healthy development and play, and much more. This topic must be deemed important and must be given funds. With more research and more hard data, this topic that I've proposed would have more evidence as to what a childhood deprived of play might do to a child as they grow up. Teachers' voices also need to be valued a lot more than they are now. I feel that higher ups, such as policymakers and school board members, should be taking their cues from the people who are actually working with our children every day. They know what goes on day to day in their classroom, and they are the experts in their own students' learning. Training for adults to support and scaffold play so that it can be taken deeper and learning can be enriched needs to be valued. Lastly, time, space, and materials need to be allocated properly. Thank you for taking the time to explore this topic with me. I'm deeply passionate about bringing play back into the lives of our youngest learners, and I hope that this came through. Thank you.